planet, of people connected to themselves and their Creator. These are the things that fuels Ray's mission. And so we're excited for you to talk to us, Ray.
Thank you, Ray. He's got a great name. Hey, Ray. Let's start off this way. I love starting off this way. Let's start off with an incredible good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, no, Kentucky, you can do better. Good morning.
Good morning.
There you go. That's what the day is going to be like. And tomorrow, I'm so excited. Chris, Ray, Kentucky Extension, all of you, thank you for what you do every day. Yesterday, we were on the Marr farm. Thank you, Marr family, for letting another day of learning. I tell you, sometimes it's very difficult, and some people feel uncomfortable allowing, other people to come to their farm because sometimes we feel we don't do it right or blah, blah, blah. But it says a lot about a human or a person that's open to critique, and that's amazing because really that's about what real learning is. Okay, so because of my limited time, the only qualifications I have in front of you really is I've been all over the world. Been very, very fortunate with my career of NRCS in 30 years. So the things I'm going to share with you is getting the opportunity to travel all over the place and being around people and learning from them. Kind of really the biggest soil health gossiper in the world. I learn from you and I teach to others, really. And from extension, books, everywhere. Opportunity to learn from every single person. So, yes, you can see my carbon footprint since I started with the passion about teaching about soil health. Okay, I'm going to talk about these 4 things that will help you on your operation. First thing, critical, mindset. Mindset is everything. It's the way you look at the world, your frame, your education, everything, the way you grew up in your community. You create a mindset. And a lot of times I'm beginning to realize that a lot of our mindsets are not correct if it's not built on the right premise. So we're going to talk about mindset. What affects mindset is social conditioning. All of us go through social conditioning. What does that mean? That we are conditioned from our communities, our church, our workplace, our universities, conditioned to think a certain way. And it creates groupthink. What I'm going to ask you, and you hope to get across, is to challenge everything, even within the group or any institution. I was willing to do that when in NRCS. But understand, that is a painful concept because the group may be wrong. The other, you and I talked about Alan, Franz Luber is a friend of mine, and the reason I'm here is to come see you guys and the friendships that I build. Is reductionist science. Please, what is reductionist science? Reductionist science is important. If you're going to build a jet, if you're going to go to the moon, you're going to build some technology, but it does not work well with biological systems, the human body, the natural system, and I'll show you why it doesn't work. Reductionist is this. You look down and you go all the way down to the proton, to the electron, even to the quark. But you got to back up and understand how all of it's connected, working as a collective. That's holistic science. We'll talk about that in a little while. Then, the goal. The goal is not the cow. The goal is not no-till. The goal is to emulate the natural system, mimic nature, biomimicry. How do you mimic the design? We'll talk about that. Okay, the best way to express all that is through a great story to show you what happened when I had to go through a paradigm shift. I went through this paradigm shift. And it happened when I was in my early 40s, living in Idaho. Is it cutting in and out? Can you guys hear me? Okay, now, I think the best story to show what happens when you get conditioned in thought process. Because keep in mind, when I share this about Dr. Matt Poor, Matt and I have become good friends, but it took a challenge that I had to go through. I did it in Idaho, and it was about 2001, 2002, and I realized what I was taught at a university setting that I went for 8 years, that the paradigm was wrong what I was taught. I was taught, use the tools, chemistry, physics, use tillage, the tools, fertilizer, chemicals. They're great tools. But not one professor, not one teacher said, no, Ray, put it together. Your job is to help farmers emulate nature, mimic it, work with it, understand the power of life, biodiversity. Did not learn that. I learned prescription. Okay, so let me give you the story that where we went through this paradigm shift with Matt and myself went through this. And it was one day, Matt Poor and myself and Johnny, we were all driving the van and we were doing speaking tours. And they were driving me around. And I'll never forget, it was a big old van, 12, 18 passenger van. Is Matt here? And I remember we were driving. And the beautiful thing is you get to build a relationship as you're driving the vehicle and you're together. And I said, and I learned this, I said, Matt, let's try this idea, let's no-till into an existing fescue. And he told me, Ray, the competition, and he's right, I learned competition too. It's not going to work. It just won't grow. Fescue's very aggressive, and he's right, it's very aggressive. But I learned this from Colin Seiss. And I see the power of diversity because I've already experienced it. I went to North Dakota. I went to the Jerusalem of soil health to see the power of diversity. And I said, Matt, let's give it a try. Ray, it won't work. Johnny's in the back laying down. Yeah, of course, those two get together because they both agree. And I used to have that same paradigm. You remember that? And all of a sudden, got a little heated, had a little pushing one way and your paradigm, your other paradigm, and we got there, and all of a sudden, it got into a moment of awkward, where it got silent. In the silence, all of a sudden, I do this. Buck, 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 buck. I did my chicken thing, and Matt was pissed. I'll never forget, Matt said, okay, Ray, you design a mix right now and you'll put it on a napkin. I said, fine. When I did that, Matt, I never told you this. Thank God I believe in God because I needed a miracle. Because I knew if it failed, Matt and Johnny would never let me hear the end of it. Right? Boy, I was going to get it. But I believed in the power of diversity. And let's see what happened. There's the mix that he no-tilled, no fertilizer, no chemical, because we've done it before, into an existing fescue. Of course, understand that the fescue was, you got to have a lot of bare ground, you have to hit it, you have to have the rains at the right time. But I will tell you what happened to Matt and Johnny. They became the most powerful force for the power of life. They had to go through a paradigm shift. They too were socially conditioned, what they learned. The standard is nature, not our universities, not our education. It's the standard. Always trying to tap into the power of life. Cow, power of life. The root, power of life. Look at the forage that was produced. Look what they've done. And what I love about what Matt, the most important thing, that wasn't the important thing. The most important thing is how Matt changed. How Johnny changed. Now they don't stay in the lane. I told Matt, you need to know about soils. I remember, Matt Poor and I have had some. We've had it. Ray, you're not a grazing specialist. I said, you know nothing about the soil. But guess what? We both need to learn from each other. Period. Don't be reductionist. You need to know a little bit about everything. That's the whole point. Now we have Ray's Crazy Mix being sold throughout parts of the country, right? Or is it Crazy Ray's Mix? Doesn't matter to me. The glory is that the farmers, this is about the farmers and about getting away from inputs, and it's about learning. Don't be socially conditioned. Open your mind. Look at this now. This was North Carolina, planted into a fescue. No fertilizer, no chemicals, no herbicide. Pasture cropping. Where did I learn that? Coincides. Try all kinds of things. We do it in pork, do it in chicken. You do it all using plants, the power of life. Use them as diversity. Now I'm going to show you, I hope, is this hooked up to audio? Can we play video? Okay, let's see. Now, social conditioning. This is social conditioning. It's a great little video to explain social conditioning.
A group of scientists placed 5 monkeys in a cage and...
Did you plug it in? We'll come back to it. We should have checked it before, huh? Okay, I'll show you what it talks about here. Scientists took 5 monkeys, they put them in a cage. They put bananas on top of the ladder, and any monkey that tried to get in there, they would wet them and they would squirt them. It got to a point that the monkeys were conditioned. And you can see here, is it working?
A group of scientists placed 5 monkeys in a cage, and in the middle a
So
ladder
they placed
with
it
bananas.
inside.
Every time a
And so
monkey
what
went up the
happened,
ladder, the scientists
what
soaked
the
the rest of
scientists
the
find
monkeys
out
with cold water.
That through a period of time, the other monkeys taught
After a while,
the
every
new
time a
monkey,
monkey went up the ladder,
don't
the
you
others
ever
beat up
reach
the
for the
one on the
bananas
ladder.
because
After
they will
some
beat
time,
you
no
up.
monkey dare go up the ladder,
They were
regardless
conditioned.
of the temptation.
That's the whole thing.
Scientists then
and the
decided
end of the
to
little
substitute one of the
cartoon
monkeys.
goes this way. So why did they keep
The first
beating
thing
up
this
that
new
same
monkey
monkey
did
over
was
again
go
when
up
they
the
got
ladder.
new monkeys? And the
Immediately,
monkey
the
would
other
say,
monkeys beat him up.
It's because that's the way it's done here.
After several beatings, the new member learned not to climb the
Same
ladder,
thing in our
even though
universities,
he
our
never knew
churches.
why.
It's
A
the
second
way
monkey
we
was
do
substituted,
things.
and the same occurred.
And
The
no
first monkey participated
questioning
on the beating for the second monkey.
of
The
what is being
replacements
done.
repeated until what
I
was
wish you could
left
have
was
heard
a
the video, but the whole point is here, please understand, when humans are together, that's why I love watching sheep, raising sheep. Have you ever seen a sheep get outside the fence? What does it want to do when the rest of the flock? It will do anything to get in with the herd. Good example of groupthink. COVID. Same thing happened. No questioning. You do what you're told. We learn social conditioning from our churches, from our families, from our universities, where we work. Please understand the power of social conditioning. Okay? How do I know social conditioning is still happening? This is still happening. I was hired, I've been working for the agency 30 years. This is still happening throughout our country. Notice how I put organic system here. There's a purpose I put it. Because people will say, well, Ray, chemicals and all that is destroying. Yeah, improper use of the tool. But look at the color of the soil. We destroyed a majority of our soils since the 1900s for thousands of years without even chemistry in an organic system. Some of the most destroyed soils I've seen are organic. Question. This is still happening. Misplaced government programs, wrong policy, and asking the wrong questions. You know what I love about the science of biomimicry? You're asking the right question. How do we mimic nature? That's where our research should be. How do we mimic nature? How do we mimic its design? Then I know if you're going on the right direction. This is still happening. Let me show you here, very interesting. As you see this slide, if you go on this part of the, if you look at this meridian, the 100 meridian, on this side, if you fly on an airplane and you go across the country, this is what you see. Bare ground. It looks like you're in the moon. From Louisiana all the way to the whole Midwest, looks like that. That system is based on science. The science of the current model that we have today. It's changing, though. How about our rangeland? I grew up in New Mexico. This is New Mexico State, University of Jornada, 1961. That's the way it looked. This is the way we look now. People get upset and say, well, cows did that. No, it's not the cow. It's the how. This is what happens when you take cattle out of the range. It becomes more degraded. CRP, cow and grass, are designed to be together. Where do you think nutrient cycling is going to happen? Herbivores are necessary. So on this side, it's becoming more desert. This side, we're creating more desert too. So is that possibly the issue with the climate? I would argue yes. This was Estonia in the winter. Flew to Estonia, was the opening speaker. Sure enough, look what happens on a global scale. Why isn't it green? Why isn't our country green at this time and covered with cereal rye? The conditioning, the thought process. Look what they were doing in Spain. Does it look similar? I got kicked out of Wisconsin. The state con was so pissed, kicked me out of Wisconsin because I had this one slide. I said our lakes and rivers are filled with conservation plans and nutrient management plans, but not crystal clear with understanding. He was pissed. So call my supervisor, say, I don't want Ray ever to come to my state again. Guess what happened? My supervisor said, I used the same slide. I'm the one that produced the slide. Farmer said, we want Ray back. I got to go back to Wisconsin. Why was he so mad? Because NRCS made the plan the goal. It was never supposed to be the goal. Mimic nature is the goal. The plan is you document your process. It is a known fact, people that have a plan get things carried out. I'm not against the plan. I'm against process and tools being the goal. It's not the goal. That's what happens when you make process and tools the goal. These are the four things when I walk into an operation that we're going to talk about. Now remember, this talk is a two-part talk I have later today, and we're going to talk about in detail. First thing when I walk into operation is how much sun are you capturing? Number two, biodiversity. The planet runs on biodiversity. It is a living planet. It's insects, animals, plants. It runs. It helps regulate the water cycle. It is a living planet. It regulates the water cycle, the nutrient cycle. It's alive. It's a collective one. Let me show you what happens, again, using science incorrectly, building the wrong premise. This is a NASA model showing CO2. The premise is we're telling everybody in the world that CO2 is the problem. I'm telling you, no, it's the four ecosystem processes are disrupted. We're not capturing enough sun. Our biodiversity is being destroyed. We're not regulating the water cycle, which biodiversity helps, and the nutrient cycle is dysfunctional. I just showed you some pictures. But we focused on one reductionist thing. It's CO2. This is the United States. Look at the time. This is the NASA model. But we don't talk about, we knew since the 1970s, the Carter administration knew, hey, when they went and did that study, yes, there's a lot of CO2, but there was another gas that was huge, but nobody wanted to talk about. It's called water vapor. 900 times bigger than CO2. 900 times. So let's see what happens. Look at the dates. What are we doing in April in agriculture on a national scale? Tillage. Look at the CO2. Did everybody just turn their car on just in the month of April? Huge amounts of CO2. When you wake up, coprotrophic bacteria, they start to eat the aggregate, they give off CO2. Look at that on a large scale, on a national scale. What happens on June 6th? Corn and soybean are growing and sucking the CO2 out of the atmosphere. Because we build on the wrong premise of our science, then Europe, I just got back from Europe. You know what the suggestion of the government is to do for the European farmers? How many have heard the French and the German farmers are pissed off? Raise your hand. How come it wasn't in the national news? Do you know what's happening there? Because you're trying to force wrong premise, wrong science. You know what their solution for water quality is? Buy the farm out. How about teaching them soil health? How about teaching them how to run ecologically? How to mimic nature? You think the answer is buying them out? Do you know how people respond when you don't teach them but you force them? What do you think they're going to do? 40% of our rain, ladies and gentlemen, come from inland. Inland. 60% comes from the ocean. So the more plants we have, we can suck the water vapor down. Plants bring rain. We've known that. 40, that was shown on the Kiss the Ground documentary. This is the problem on a global scale. This is what's altering the climate. Global ignorance, global disconnectedness. We're disconnected from the land, and when you drive, our soils are naked, they're hungry, they're thirsty, and they're running a fever. Please understand the whole West was covered with prairie grasses. How many have driven out west recently? It looks like the moon. There's too much sensible heat coming off the surface. Too much latent heat. Did you know that our land is 20 to 30% bare? How much heat is that reflecting? And does CO2 contribute? Yes. CO2 is a symptom, but not the major cause. Our lands globally, for folks, are becoming desertified. Look at this. Not enough vegetation. I personally think agriculture by itself can heal the climate. This is what I got to see when I go down to Chihuahua. Great scientific article called Vapor Storms. Big rivers. They have cloud rivers, sky rivers, where huge amounts of moisture and where we're getting disruption because there's so much moisture. Where does the water need to be in the CO2? In the soil. Suck it down. Put it into the soil matrix where it belongs. That's the issue that we're dealing with. Now we get massive flooding, what Carolina's experienced. And it comes all down at one time. It's either really dry or really wet. Have you guys noticed that? How many have noticed that? I have noticed it. Either too dry, but it's disrupted the water cycle. The small water cycle connected to the large water cycle. Again, reductionist science says that's one thing. Holistic science says, look what I'm telling you. There's other things happening. We're not capturing enough sun. Our water cycle's not working. We disrupted and destroyed biodiversity. Nutrient cycle's not working. All those processes. Do you see the difference in the thought process? Please listen to this man for 2 hours. Best university in the world is YouTube. Please listen to Walter Yenning. Great talk on how the water cycle is being disrupted. If you want to have an intelligent conversation and bring it to somebody that you can see a holistic point of view where all these other things are disrupted, please watch Walter Yenning. He's worth listening to. Unfortunately, he's dying of cancer, but he is worth listening to. My goodness, technical, smart. This is my education. All of you have been exposed to reductionism since you were born. As you go through high school, grade school, this is the way I used to look at the world. Fragmented. This is the way I look at it now. All the pieces work together as a collective. Number one principle for a farmer. Everything is one. Everything is connected. Don't separate them out. You got too many moving pieces. Patterns. We'll talk about that. You know the first thing I've experienced reductionism? First thing farmers say, Ray, it's too cold here. It won't work. No-till won't work. It's too stinking dry. Reductionist. It's too wet. I hear that all the time. No-till won't work here. It's too dry, too wet, too humid. Reductionism. What do all these things have in common, all these ecosystem regions? We do no-till in Canada, in Afghanistan, Louisiana. What do they all have in common? Life. Microbial life. The planet runs on life. Oh yeah, there's microbes in the desert. I had one time, one group said, Ray, we don't want you to come and talk in Phoenix because we don't have microbes. I go, whoa, okay. The power of life. Yesterday, we were in the pit, and they were talking about how does that plant grow, ladies and gentlemen? Now, that's compaction. I grew up in the West. That's a very common picture. These plants make an association with fungi, with bacteria, break rock down. They can dissolve it with their powerful enzymes. They leak acids, break the rock down, make the mineral available. I was not taught that in school, the power of the microbe. Look at Australia. Look at that layer. How come this is a salt bed? Gypsum salt bed in Australia. Ladies and gentlemen, how come it's dark on the top? Life. So once you understand the power of life and that the soil is alive, you're changing your paradigm, your management changes completely. Plant and soil are one. Ellen and I were talking about, he goes, well, of course you need the geological matrix. I go, yeah, but it's not soil. Understand geology. Without plant and microbe, you cannot call it soil. It is not soil. They change it to soil. They get the mineral and break it down and make it soluble. This is the most limiting thing in our farms all over the world. Not enough capturing light energy and converting it into liquid sun to feed the myriad of microbes. Our soils are starving for liquid sun, carbon. That's what's happening. And the way you manage the cow, the way you plant the covers, is critical if you get energy to flow in that system. This is why grazing systems cropping systems can never compare to grazing systems. Look at the root system. When I'm with a group of Amish and they have this beautiful beard, and they say, Ray, how do I fix my soil? I said, look at your beard, leaking exudates. Grab that beard, and I go, yeah, Ray says, cover crop, manage my cows, manage the height of that grass, leak carbon. You know why my grasses are my favorite? Every square inch leaking food to the microbes. This is what I was not taught in college. That's why I buy every book on soil ecology. Every book. When I first became crazy, I go, soil ecology, agroecology. Ecology means, it's not a hippie word. I remember the first time I came to Kentucky, one extension guy says, Ray, I like your talk, but you used a hippie word. Ecology. I go, whoa. Ecology means study of the house. Economics, the money of the house. You don't get the ecology right, the economics will not come out right. You know how I draw people to my school? Economics. Then when you leave the school, you fall in love with the ecology. And then you realize it was always about the ecology. This is another thing I was missed out in school. This is bioturbation. It's these organisms on the top and in the bottom, they convert that material. It is a dynamic living system. So if you till that upper 2 or 3 inches, the more you till it, the more you spray it, the more you overgraze, the more you write a check. The more you screw up those first 3 inches. That's where a majority of the soil ecology and the life is. Who cares about the last 12 feet if you don't get the first 4 inches right? That's why when people say, Ray, well, what do you think of tile drains? Well, if you're not doing no-till and doing cover crops, a majority of the water will run off. Am I opposed to tile drains? I'm opposed to reductionist thinking. System. The tile drain, the no-till, the covers, and backing off on the chemicals. Systems thinking. I'm about my little micro herd. Look at this protozoa grazing. Why do I group the cows once in a while and massage them and give them the manure and urine? For them. Why do I manage my root system? For them. They cycle it. They make the zinc and the minerals out of the rock. They do that. So the more I manage my cows, the more I manage my soil, and all of it is a collective, my tools. And so what's one of the barometers I use? Look at my cow. My cow better be happy. But you better take care of my micro cows too. They're connected. In fact, they're a walking vat of life. Yesterday, I heard a comment, how powerful is life? That's our Arbusculum mycorrhizae scarring the rock, bringing the minerals, the phosphorus. Do you know what we have a problem in the United States? We have a solubility problem because you don't have enough carbon, not enough biology, not enough life to take the mineral out of the rock. But yet we go write checks, and very few farmers are calibrating their own soils. Please understand, our soils used to be here, they're here. Those are the same soils. We have destroyed our soils with our own paradigm. And then we keep that same paradigm because we condition ourselves and we become in a little echo chamber. And when somebody questions, you are beat up. This is what we've done to our ag model. This is the current ag model based on science on the wrong premise. This is the regenerative model based on the right science, a science of humility. This one says, how do we mimic nature to the last minute? This is how you control nature and force it. It's not alive. It's alive. You know my biggest struggle to teach farmers? That the soil is alive. It's a living ecosystem. We treat our animals like a prison camp. No respect for their design. This respects the design. This has impacted our health. It has impacted the health of the land and the farmer. Do most farmers want to go down this path? No. No, they don't. So where should our money go? So we can go from this system to more of this system. This hog brings $1,500 a hog. This one brings $185 a hog. One of the reasons young people are going into Impossible Burger. They don't want that. I got to tell you something about the Z's and the X's. They care about the planet. We have a thought process now in the regenerative system is to raise these animals and into the last minute let them go to freezer camp in a wonderful way where there's less stress. How do you think the stress of these animals are impacted in that? Now, we have to be very careful that we don't put the producers that are doing this and say they're a bad person. That's what they were taught in the Matrix. Get bigger or get out. Remember that? That's what I pushed in NRCS. Get bigger, get out. The reality is we are killing our soils with our tools. Too much fertilizer, too much pesticide, too much tillage. I tell my no-tillers, you spray too much and not enough covers. I tell my organic people, you till too much and not enough covers. And look at the income. 1926, look at the farmer's share. Look at ag business. Am I against the tool makers? Please, I am not. I don't want you walking away thinking, oh, Ray's against no-till, the tool guys. We're against the herbicides. There are herbicides coming down, folks, that are going to be more biological friendly. We tried them on my ranch, getting away from the toxic ones. It's coming based on the concepts of biomimicry. And this is the result of our current model based on asking the wrong questions. More suicide. Why do farmers have more suicide than anybody else? You have the most important job, where the Creator said, take care of the garden. And yet we're killing ourselves on a large, why? Economic stress. They're in debt. I tell farmers, you are the poorest millionaires I know. You're worth millions, no cash flow. This year had the highest yield of corn, and farmers are not going to be able to make their payments. They're enslaved and will defend that model. I used to defend that model. Put my pledge of allegiance, yes, we've got to feed the world. No. And this is what's happened to our communities. I get to go every state. I've been in every state, from Hawaii to Puerto Rico, and this is common in the rural America. People say, Ray, you've got to feed the world. Oh, yeah? Why didn't you tell that to the Darvis family in Pasadena when they only got 1/10 of an acre and they get 6,000 pounds of vegetables and making $40,000 on 1/10 of an acre? A majority of the planet is fed with 12 acres and below. And by the way, the population by 2050 is crashing. So we're going to do all this commodity that we're growing. The population is crashing. We don't have enough young people that want to have kids because of the paradigm that's being pushed. The world's going to come to an end. It's going to burn up. They have no hope. I totally go against that narrative. So what's the goal? Write this down. Biomimicry Institute. There's where I would go to school, where you bring engineers and scientists and everybody together and says, our goal is to mimic nature and ask this incredible question of humility. Why don't we ask her? That's a great website. Guess how we learned about Velcro? Cocklebur. We learned it from the cocklebur. You know the name of that scientist? Billionaire. We learn how to fly, mimic nature. We're good at mimicking. We're not good creators, but we're good mimickers. This is the way our cities would look if we had the right premise. You might even get me to live in the city. This is our city based on our engineering, our science, our paradigm. You see the difference? Ask nature. Tell nature. Force it. They've done studies. Another part of the causing climate change is the heat coming off these roads, these buildings, and then once you start vegetating back, you cool it, and guess what happens when you have trees and flowers in the city? Crime rate goes down. We're designed to be in the garden, ladies and gentlemen. My goal is to emulate the design, the patterns, and the architecture of those systems. The prairie and the forest. They both have animals. Look at the architecture. Look at the biodiversity. Both of them. That's where I guide my farmers, whether you're in a cropping or grazing system. Look at the cover crop mixes. Look at the architecture. Pollinators, mix, diversity. Nature runs on diversity. It is the software of the planet. Okay, now I'm going to show you how cows can heal the planet. Mimic the grazing patterns. Now, one other thing is, do we have to group the animals all the time? No. One time, one pulsation a year that you group those animals tight. Let them defecate, let them urinate every square inch. People, there's a lot of people out there saying animals are the cause of our global warming. They're farting too much. Blaming animals. Well, how about the 7 billion human beings? Look how many elephants our planet used to have. Without herbation, we would not have a planet. Look at that. Now that's grouping them tight, Matt. You don't have to do that all the time. Once in a while. Now, let's see how we can change. I grew up in New Mexico. Our family's been there for 15 generations. We've been there since the 1500s. I grew up here in the Rockies. I went to college in New Mexico State. And this is what changed, one of the paradigm shifts, Matt, that changed my life, was going to go see Alejandro's ranch. I've been there 5 times. Got 600 cows, 4th generation, 30,000 acre ranch. This was a kick in the teeth. Alan Williams got me down there, and I got to see, and I went to go give a presentation down there on soil health. One of the best things that ever happened to my life. This is how it looks. New Mexico, all the way from Albuquerque to El Paso, looks like that. Nevada, Colorado, California, eastern Colorado, western Colorado. That's the way our planet looks. Is it hot? We don't know what hot is. You throw an egg on the concrete, it will fry. Matt knows. He's from Arizona, right? It's hot. And no hardly rain. Oh, but I can't make it work here in Kentucky. That's what I hear all the time. I got too much rock. I got too much clay. I do not care about your soil texture. Ooh. Boy, I'm such a revolt. Biology changes soil texture. What do I mean by that? They create the pore space. They open the clays. They leak the acids. Make them easier. Life does that, folks. And also, too, you've got to understand, don't farm out of your context. Don't try to make a pig into a purse. It's a pig. Or don't make it a cow. You can't. Some soils are just tough. Especially if they get rain, flooded every... So one producer said, "Ray, I get flooded 9 out of 10 times." I said, "Why are you growing corn there?" So what do? Why don't you grow rice? Yeah, I told him to grow rice. Rice doesn't care if it's flooded. Put rice there, and then if you want to get your soybeans going, let the rice, open it up, use it as a surrogate. And if you can get soybeans to work, fine. If you don't, you can use it as forage. Alejandro with 2 men, 30,000 acres, they move the cows 800 times a year. 800 times a year. We took that video. Notice how the cows are so happy, how quick they move. I speeded it up because, man, they're hungry to go to the next one. But look what they do. 2 cowboys move that mob together. Biomimicry. 2 cowboys. So what's the concept? The concept is you use cattle. There's a great research paper. Take a picture of that, read that. You can get that. It's called Mobile Link. Organisms and ecosystem functioning. How you get organisms like a cow, the bat, pollinators. You go from a healthy area, part of the ecosystem, and go to a disturbed site and use the biology of life to move it from here to here. Great paper. Here, I'll go back. Got it, Matt? It's a wonderful paper. Taught me a lot how, I said, well, how's Alejandro getting this to work? He takes one part of the ranch, cycles the cows, landscaping, always moving them. He moves those cows 800 times a year. He went from 10 paddocks, 40 paddocks. He told me he's got 800 paddocks on that 30,000 acre ranch. No cost share. No government help. They don't get government help. You know what they want from the government? Stay away so you don't take my land. What is on the surface of that cow? Anybody? Seed. You know what a seed is? Genetic information. It's called bioinformation. Sperm, seed, pollen, any excretion, any secretion is communication. Look at the power of the cow. That's in a desert floor with crust, hotter than whatever. Cows are amazing. They will heal the land. Right how? Right paradigm. Look what they did here. They got this animal, and these ranchers are brilliant. You know what all they have in common? Mr. Matt Poor, holistic management. Ellen Savory, the villain. He impacted my life. I read his book. If it wasn't for his book and watching failure, I would have never woken up from my groupthink. Now look what he did to heal a mine made out of gravel. That is a gravel mine using cows. Cows did that. Oh no, we can't do anything like that. Do you see the power of life? Do you imagine if we used the cows right? Please understand the West became destroyed because the animals only did what they do. There was no management, no right paradigm. Just take. No relationship. This is one of Alejandro's ranch. Look at the rain stop right at the fence line. Well, it must rain better on your side. Well, actually it is. When you bring in 30,000 acres, you start to vegetate it, it will bring the rain. Remember, sensible heat. Bare ground pushes rain away. Masanobu Fukuoka taught me more than any person on ecology. How many read One Straw Revolution? Buy all his books. It was an American desert when he came. I suddenly realized that rain does not fall from the heavens. It comes from the ground. Desert formation is not due to the absence of rain, but the rain ceases to fall because the vegetation has disappeared. That is scientifically proven. Cows are getting so smart now, Matt, look at this one. They can even, I hope this video works. They caught this video of cows now knowing how to open their own fence. Well, he's touching the plastic. You don't think so? Look, Matt's always going, yeah, but there's got to be something to that. Yeah. I just thought I'd show that, Matt, because I thought that was funnier than heck. That's pretty darn good. And then guess what? Now we're left with the explanation of why cows 40 miles away are just starting to do the same exact thing. They're organized. People say, well, Ray, you're talking about large scale. Tom Middlechek from Missouri. 2 cows, 5 acres. It's the concepts, folks. The principles, the patterns. It's not about scale. Now, what's the problem with scale? You need more people. I tell farmers, you're farming too many acres. Bring it down. I have farmers that farm 10,000 acres. You know the first thing I tell them? You're farming too much. You can't manage the detail. What's going to change our planet? What is changing it? Right here, look at the new boss. It's all about food. 70% of millennials read labels. Best way not to get sick, eat well. But one doctor said, best thing could ever happen to you is don't go to the hospital. Eat. The body is self-healing, self-organizing, self-regulating. Feed it well. This is changing agriculture, and it will continue to change agriculture because the demand is there. People want food as medicine. This is farm salmon. This is wild salmon. The way the Creator does it, the way we do it. How many have watched Seaspiracy? Don't watch it. You'll never eat fish again. Grown in a CAFO type situation where they're defecating and parasites and everything in there. Way we raise our beef. This is an organic farm. This is Gabe's farm. I'll pay $10 every day, any day. Just because it's organic, they're using organic feed, but they're kept in a CAFO type situation, but it's organic. Folks, we talked about mindset. Mindset's everything. Do you have the right mindset? Mimic nature is the mindset. Careful with social conditioning. Careful with it. Question. Now, if you get fired, you know who you're going to ask, right? Ray, I listened to Ray and I got fired from the government. Work within your construct, but question everything. I questioned. And I know what it feels when you question the industrial model. I almost lost my job in NRCS. Because all they have to do is the Fertilizer Federation complain, attack the chief, goes to the head of science, and I get a phone call. And I answer, hello, my name's Matt Poor. Can I help you? Hi, my name's Matt. But I understand it takes bravery to lead. My love for the people and for the land, you have to be able to stand up. Every time you move the cows, every time you come to these schools, you're standing up. Speak out. Every time you do the right things, you are not part of the matrix. Your neighbors are watching. Question all science. In fact, I want to get a new t-shirt. I've only met one non-biased scientist in my life. They were dead. We're all biased. I'm biased. I'm telling you I'm biased. That's honesty. That's humility. I was biased to the industrial model. I am biased towards the creation now. I'll look at your science papers. I do it like a barnyard rooster. What does that mean? I pick the kernels of truth in a pile of crap. A lot of it is just crap. Asking it the wrong way. Asking the wrong questions. I love science. Took 8 years of it. I'm not against science. I'm against asking the wrong questions. I'm against farmers going broke. I'm tired of our land becoming degraded. I'm tired of a sick people. That's the goal. If your science doesn't teach me how to mimic nature, I don't want any part of it. I don't have time. I have no time. I'm here trying to help farmers from all over the world, from Brazil, from everywhere, Nicaragua. They're calling, Ray, we watch Kiss the Ground. We want help. There's not enough holistic thinkers. If a young person wants to leave the university and you learn holistic thinking and ecology, you'll have a job forever and make 10 times what you make at the university. Because there is such a need for healing. I love this quote. There are millions of methods, but a man that understands ecological principles and principles will choose his method. Folks, when I go all over the country, it's amazing to me. In the last 2 months, I've taught over 1,000 producers. One workshop, 220 showed up in Ohio. And I asked them this one question. How many of you are calibrating your own soils? What do you mean calibrate? You are putting zero fertilizer, half rate, full rate. You calibrate your own soils. Don't wait for anybody. Don't wait for the university. Don't wait for NRCS. There's not enough employees. You calibrate your own soils. How many out of those 1,000 producers do you think raised their hand? That's exactly right. About 1, 3, or 4, 5, less than 1%. And I said, well, continue to write a check. You just continue to get your $50,000 hat when you go buy fertilizer. You're not doing your own science. And it's pretty simple to do. Zero, half rate, full rate. Back off. We have the soil test, and we're going to talk about that in the latter part of my talk. You choose your methods. We're going to talk about the principles. I broke it down to 4. We'll talk about it in the next talk. Diversity, reduce. Pretty simple. Diversity, understand your context, limit physical and biological disturbance, work in community. Do not work by yourself. You'll die by yourself. Let me give you an example. What do I mean by that? It takes a whole year to see if your practice made any difference. But if I have 7 or 10 people in my community, I got 10 years of research in 1 year. I work as a group, as a collective. The 4 processes. When I walk on, and you know what? I'm going to show you this afternoon how I understand those 4 processes are working on your operation with a shovel. A shovel. They say the eyes are the window to the soul. The window to the soul of the soil is a shovel. With the right paradigms, a shovel will teach me a lot. I'll show you. Now, since we don't have video, which is a mistake, type him name.
This question comes up a lot.
His name is Simon Sinek.
You read articles and they're like,
and there's
charisma,
got 3 things of what a real leader is.
I've known a lot of great leaders who you wouldn't even know they're a leader. They like walk with their shoulder against the wall, right?
Simon Sinek, watch every video of
those
that
things
man.
I've seen, yes and no. But the few things that I've seen universally about amongst the great leaders I've met, number one, and these things, number one and number two sort of go together. Number one is courage. Number one is courage.
And courage go together.
The courage to speak truth to power, the courage to be honest about my own failings, my own capabilities,
bringing people together.
The courage to be open about my failings and my capabilities.
Know your why.
These things are excruciating. The courage to tell somebody something that you know is going to hurt their feelings.
Is it just to have a farm?
Leadership is an incredibly difficult thing to do.
Difference, not only in the planet,
and courage,
for your people,
which then begs the question: where does courage come from?
Why are you here?
And I do not believe for 1 minute that courage is a deep internal fortitude where you dig down deep and find the courage. Courage for me is social.
It'll never understand that.
Like, I have the courage to jump out of a plane because...
I love this little video from... another thing I would add, number 4, is humility. This is a great book. Realize you're not so smart. Matt knew that about me right away. Ray's not that smart. He's right. Because I know I don't trust myself. I stick to the ecological principles the Creator designed. You know what's the thing he said, the most important thing you can understand and see if this is going to work? And that video's not going to work either. And let me see if I can get it to play. Well, it doesn't matter. There's no audio. Here's what he says. The biggest mistake young people make, they think they're smart. And they're not. I've learned that a long time ago. You who observe, what is it? One of the brilliant scientists, if you know a little bit of science, you're a good atheist. But if you know a lot of science, you're a Christian. Christians understand that. It's elegant. It's complex. It's beautiful. It's too complex. If there wasn't a designer. I thought that was beautiful. That was Pasteur. His quote, by the way. Dr. Pasteur. Read this book. We all have cognitive bias. What is cognitive bias? It's bias that we build within the group in the construct. We make illogical decisions. And then we have a lot of logical fallacies. That book was excellent. It really gave me the humility to sit and listen and to observe and stick to the principles. Last slide. This is my definition of regenerative agriculture. Regenerative agriculture imitates nature's beauty, Creator's beauty. I should walk on your operation. First thing, I should hear it. I should see the beauty. Principles, the patterns of nature, and its intelligent design. That's regenerative agriculture, to heal not only our community, but all biological communities. I think this last one shows you a gentleman in India, no formal education, just a desire to heal. That YouTube University shows this guy, he healed all this acre by doing this. He was sick and tired of seeing his place he grew up look like this, absolutely destroyed. But he had this vision as a leader. And every day, he decided to do something about it. He planted a tree every day. And look what happened. For 37 years, never stopped. This is the result. He won India's award. tree at a time, one heart at a time, one mind at a time. Can we heal the planet? Absolutely. I have hope. I have never seen such a great opportunity in agriculture. Ladies and gentlemen, agriculture is going to be one of the most important things in the next 10 or 15 years. Last statement. I was reached out, the Kennedy campaign reached out to me, say, Ray, if we have a new group of people coming in, who would you put in the USDA? Who is going to be the new? And I was excited about Robert Kennedy because you know why? When you listen to his speech, he talked about regeneration and he talked about soil health. Whoever wins, it's not going to stop. Healing is going to happen because we know, and I think they're beginning to understand, agriculture is key to bringing healing. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for my talk, Ray, and thank you, Chris, for bringing me out here. Appreciate it very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.